By listening to this podcast or watching the YouTube video series, you agree not to use this platform as medical advice, to treat any medical condition in either yourself or others. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultations with your healthcare provider. We are here to share stories and give hope. Please consult your physician for any medication questions or medical issues you may be having. Our bodies are uniquely ours, and something that may work for one person may not necessarily work for you. What would our lives look like if we put our energy into things that brought us joy and focused on things we actually have control over? Now, joy looks different for everyone. For me, it may be listening to my daughter sing from another room, connecting with others in the vestibular community, dancing to music that moves me, or even just quietly sitting outside in nature with the sun on my face. There are other joys too, even scrolling Instagram. There are so many accounts that bring a smile to my face. They're playfulness, high energy, sarcastic mamas, and you guessed it, they're joy. Have you ever heard of flow art? Well, after having this conversation, I'm completely enamored with Geri and the joy she shares with the world through the sacred flow art of hula hooping. Please welcome Geri. Geri, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm so excited to talk to you finally.
Yay. I'm excited too.
Well, we don't know each other very well, and I don't know your story except from what I've seen on Instagram. Would you start by sharing a little bit about you, Geri, before your vestibular symptoms, and then where we'll lead up to today, what you're doing today?
Wow. I have to go back to, let's just go back to when I was a kid. I've always had problems with vestibular issues. Knowing what they are, I've always had trouble. I just didn't know what it was. As a kid, I'm sure many people can relate to getting sick at the amusement parks on the rides and not being able to spin on the merry-go-round thing at the playground. That was my nemesis. I got more sick more times than I can count. But I'd always try it again because I wanted to be cool like the cool kids. I could never do it. And I'd always get sick at picnics, field day, or when we went to the park as a class to have like the end of year, whatever. Right. And all the kids would be on the merry-go-round. Oh, yeah. I would always get sick. And I couldn't do anything. Car travel made me sick as a kid. I remember that. And then as a young adult, or teenager and young adult, I did have really, really bad headaches with pain when I was on my period. And they were very debilitating. I do remember taking lots and lots of Motrin, not even so much for cramps. They were bad. It was mainly for the headache. And back then, it was the big pills that were prescription only. It wasn't even on the market. You know, it was Tylenol was out there, but Motrin and Aleve and all that wasn't on the shelves yet. But I had a prescription for that I religiously filled. And about the time I got married and was going through a lot of headache pain monthly. So we knew what it was. It was just, you have headaches, a migraine with your hormonal whatever. That's what they told me. Right. When you get pregnant, it'll get easier on you. That's what they told me.
Right.
You know, and so after I had my first child, during that pregnancy, I had a headache at the beginning when your hormones are adjusting. And then I had headaches coming back off, you know, after the baby is born. And it was really, really bad with my second son. I have two boys, two sons, I should say, men now. But yeah, I had really, really bad migraine. All I knew was that. Was I still motion sick sometime? Yeah. I just knew don't get on rides at the fair. That was pretty much all I dealt with. It wasn't any much dizziness or vertigo or anything until probably during the kids were little. I remember I'd turn over in bed and I would get dizzy, but it would be momentarily, like a real quick vertigo, and then I would get up. I was still having head pain back then too. So, but I didn't associate them, of course. You know, it was just, I never really had a full out attack of anything that I, you know, considered an attack. Didn't know back then.
Right.
Probably around the age of what would have been, I guess, perimenopause or menopause, whatever you want to call it, because I had my uterus removed. Probably that was in, it was in 2000. So I was at the age of 40. Had really, really heavy periods still. They didn't get any better after kids. They just got worse. And I was really missing a lot of time off of work because of that. I couldn't go. I had a job in the public and I had to look nice and be dressed and sit at my desk. And I couldn't just run to the bathroom all the time. And it was bad. So I decided to have that done, but I kept my ovaries. And so through my 40s till about 47, that was kind of when everything just quit working by 47. So I'm full on menopause then. But back when I was perimenopausal, couldn't decide if I knew I was going to do the surgery, that was the age that I had my first, like, that vertigo and just a horrible experience. And if I have to go back and look at it now with these eyes of having more wisdom about it, it's the event that set me up for the PPPD, because it was an all-day event. It was horrible. I had gotten an award for work, and they sent me down to San Antonio because I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm in Arlington, and it's like a 45-minute flight, if that. So you can do a morning, go down, and come back. Our headquarters was located in San Antonio. So they sent me on a plane, and I hadn't flown in a long time. I had flown when I was younger. I was a smoker back then, and I would drink on the plane, and I was fine. I was 20, I was younger. But at the age of 40, Mama didn't do well on a plane at 6:30 in the morning on a Southwest flight with rear-facing seats.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. So you're not facing forward, you're facing backward.
Right.
So the cockpit's back here, and I'm facing the back of the plane, and I've got my 4 ladies with me. I looked out the window, and the plane started to taxi forward. I wasn't expecting what I saw. My brain says, oh, that's weird, because it was going opposite of what I thought I'd see. Right. I mean, Heather, my stomach just went like this, and we hadn't even taken off the ground yet. And all I had was coffee in me. I had no food, but I felt horrible. And they were just holding my hand, giving me peppermint. I just kept my mouth shut. Normal talkative me just shut down. And I was just like, it was awful. And I had 45 minutes of that. Got down, and we're on our way to a luncheon. We're on our way to get an award. And I had to suck it up, Buttercup. Yeah, it was bad. And what funny is, they put me in an office on the first floor of the building because the thing was on the top floor, like 35 floors up. So I had to get in an elevator. And I was like, that ain't happening right now, folks. Right. You got me in a taxi to get here. That was bad enough. We ain't going in an elevator. And so I sat there and got myself together. We had a good hour or more to kill, so I did have time to acclimate. And I drank 7-Up, peppermint, rested, closed my eyes. I just went, turn the lights off. See, I always want the lights off with this now. That's when that started. And I was just like, leave me alone. And they left me alone. And I was like, please, Jesus, let them forget me. I just want to sit here. Aww. But they didn't. They, eventually I was able to do it. It took about 30 minutes, but I calmed down. I didn't take anything, though. I just did it on my own, how somehow. Got upstairs. Were you
experiencing vertigo?
Oh, yes.
Yes, okay.
I had to suck it up. And with them holding me tight, I said, put pressure on my shoulders. Let's go. I didn't want to walk the stairs, 35 floors. So I had to get up there. And I just held on for dear life, and I just kept breathing. And at this point, Heather, I didn't know what it was. I just knew that this is like nothing I've ever had before. Got upstairs, and the air was so much colder up there because it was a nice ballroom with, and there were people and that, that move, everybody talking. And I was just, oh, Jesus, oh, Lord, how am I going to do this? But they stayed with me. My work friends were great. And once it got going and I saw food sounded good. See, I don't know how I did it. It's probably, just a lot of praying. I was like, Jesus, please, Jesus, let me just get through this day. Jesus, I'm just praying. So I did eat, though, and it was very good. And it was a nice, creamy lunch, and it was wonderful. And I got my award and I have pictures of me smiling. You would never know anything's wrong with me. And I was just having a wonderful time meeting all these people from San Antonio I'd only talked to on the phone. And then they were like, okay, we got to go. I'm like, oh crap. We have to repeat this process now. We have to go back up in a plane. We have to get to the airport. We were on a, run. We got to get back for that 2:00 flight.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Somebody goes, you know what? I have some Dramamine. Give her some Dramamine. So they gave me a Dramamine in the taxi cab. Mm-hmm. But the minute I hit the door of the elevator and started to go down, I felt it. It was like, ugh. And it was all I could do to not throw up in the taxi. I did start to kind of throw up in the airport, but once we got on the plane and they said, she needs to sit in the front of the plane. She cannot sit in the back. She has to sit in the front. See, they knew. I didn't understand all that. It's less bumpy, whatever. So they took me by myself and set me special. Southwest, you just go on. Right. They let me go on. Yeah, she explained how sick I was feeling. And that whole flight, I 5 or 6 bags. People were just passing them to me.
Oh,
and I was just crying. My mascara was running. I had holes in the knees of my pantyhose because I was pressed up against there, just heaving. Mm. And the guy across the thing had my wrist and he was pressing on it. Like you see bands.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then the lady next to me had an ice bag on the back of my neck. And I was just like, Lord, what time is it? How much more time do we have?
Right.
The whole flight was like that. And then I got special, they got a wheelchair and put me in it.
Right.
And I just sat there by myself. Nobody, because my people were in the back of the plane. They were sitting together. By the time they got off, I was just sitting there by myself waiting on them. And they took a picture of me. I don't have it. It was somebody else's. And they showed it to me. I didn't want to keep it. I looked horrible. And they're all up looking at me. And it was like something you'd see in a movie. They were just like, are you okay? Right. And I'm like, no. I said, call my husband, call my sister. Somebody's got to come get me. I can't. The thought of driving from Love Field Airport in Dallas all the way to Arlington was just not on the table.
Right.
I said, my sister had to come pick me up. She lived in Dallas. I didn't make it home with her smoothly. I had to throw up a couple more times in the car. The world was spinning. I was just like, I need to go to the emergency room. She goes, no, get home. You're going to rest. If you need to go to the ER later, but Robert needs to get off of work and come and get you. You sleep on my couch. So I fell asleep. He didn't come get me till about 9:00 that night because she told me, she had told him, just let her sleep. Come later tonight if you can. I can even keep her overnight if you want, and he's no, I'll just pick her up later. This is the first time anything had ever happened to me. And that was in 2000, spring of 2000. Now, looking back on it, at that time, I was doing a show, community theater show, and I hadn't done community theater in 18 years. Like I had become a mom. I had done all these things. And there was on my bucket list at 40, I said, I want to audition for a show. I don't know where. And this audition came up and I begged my husband. I said, please, I'll still work. I'll do it all. I'll go to rehearsals and all this. But, looking back on it, that was a lot. I was stressing myself out because I would be at rehearsal every night of the week till like 10:30, get up and go to work, come home, eat real quick, go to rehearsal. I had no idea what that was like at the age of 40. I hadn't done it since I was, at 22. Right. So but again, I had to prove to myself, could I still do it? And of course I could. Everybody in the show was like, where have you been? Why are you? What are you? I was like, I'm a mom. I don't know. I wanted to do it, but it taught me that lesson of, no, you do, but you know what? Bodies change. It's too much for your body. And that's what my husband told me. He goes, you were doing too much. You just need to stop that. I know you love it, but so.
Well, Geri, let me ask you, after you, so you go on the plane ride and you go to this award ceremony and then you come home and you're so sick. How long did that last? I mean, did you finally end up going to the
about
ER
2
with your
days.
husband?
I felt like I had a hangover. And this is the thing, is like it taught me that, okay, when I feel like this, there's going to be a downside. There's going to be a cooling period, right? Mm-hmm. And it lasted 2 days. I had to miss work. Oh, I missed dress rehearsal for the show. That was the week the show was.
No.
That's why I think I was so hyped. And so I missed dress rehearsal. And that was awful. But so that was 2 days I was down. And then that third day I was able to go to work, come home, and open the show. That was, yeah. So I had a reason to get there, but I felt like I had a hangover for the next day. Like I didn't do anything. I went to the doctor. Went to the doctor and he said, you need to rest for a couple of days. You had an event. That is called travel sickness, altitude sickness. That's what they called it. And gave me anti-Vert. I never had meclizine before. That's what they gave me. And I soon learned, he goes, this is what you got to do. If you need to travel, you need to take this. He didn't say anything about headache, migraine, nothing. It was just, you got this.
Right.
And that's what I did from 2000 until probably 2006 or 7. About that time. So I had a son in high school. We had band trips to go on. I was going to get on a plane again. Like I had a reason. So I knew how to hydrate a bunch before you go up, do all the things. I had to be one of those prep people for flight. Like I'd seen people do it, but I didn't think it was me until then. Right. So I got better as far as being able to travel. And we went to New York, we went to Florida, we went to several places, on planes in that span of years. But I always took real good care. Car trips, hydrate. Going up in the mountains, hydrate. Take your meclizine. Did I feel bad? Yeah. Did we have a couple of ER trips? Yes, we did. Because I didn't do enough. And it was always motion sickness. She has motion sickness. She has vertigo when she gets motion sickness. That's all they said. Every time I went to the ER. Nothing about vestibular, whatever. It was always motion sickness. And then at a point in 2007, I believe, I looked up one day and looked this way and got vertigo. I was just sitting in a chair and I went, oh, I nearly fell to the floor. And I had to call my husband and say, something just happened to me. And he goes, are you okay? I was like, yeah, but I had that same dizziness and vertigo, but I wasn't doing anything. And I certainly wasn't traveling anywhere. So I don't know what that was. So then I went to the doctor for it because I at will, I could go like that until it left and make myself dizzy. It wasn't vertigo. It was just a real quick. Right. And so he goes, something's going on in your inner ear. You need to go to ENT. And they said, oh, yeah, you have BPPV or whatever. And that was in 2007, like I said, and they did the Epley procedure in a physical therapy place that was just a lot of physical therapists that dealt with older people. But they didn't really do a lot of vestibular other than that maneuver. It was just in 2007, that's all they were doing. It's like, let me tilt your head back, and that's it. And so that fixed me, I thought, right?
It did.
So they said, don't lay on your left side. That's what they told me. From now on, don't go to the left. Sleep upright. If you have trouble going back and your head feels full, then just sleep upright, which I still do this day. And it's very comfortable for me to sleep at zero gravity, but because I love it. I don't sleep on my side either side as much. And that was from 2007 to like 2010. I was told not to bend over a lot because what I was doing is I was causing my inner ear, the crystals they explained. The more that I repeated going up and down with my head, and I did color my hair and rinse it in the sink at home, upside down. I had puppies. I was going down a lot, going down the dryer, things at home. They said, you need to just think about keeping your head up a lot when you move. It'll tell your body where you're at in space and time. But just, they told me not to look down, not to go back, not to go to the left. So I didn't do it. I walked around in life like this, which I now know is what you shouldn't do because that just creates that fear and creates that anxiety. And then I had the motion sickness fear, the nausea fear, the fear of that whole day. Looking back now, do you see how that all comes together to just make me just a ball of fear about anything to do with moving myself up, down, wherever, going up in the air, whatever. And I just lived on meclizine when it got bad. And when I say lived on meclizine, I mean, like I took it for like a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time. And then I would stop. Not knowing that the meclizine was probably making me dizzy too, because I was, staying on it long term for weeks or, days and weeks. Well, about that time, in 2007, I discovered hooping, the hoop.
Hooping, right.
Yeah, I discovered it on one of our trips. On one of our trips, we just happened to be going where the girl I'd seen on TV was located in California. We just happened to be heading to California. And I didn't tell my husband that I wanted to kind of go get a hoop or look at the hoops or whatever. I just called her. I called the office to like find out if they had classes for when we were going to be there. And the chick that I'd seen on TV answered the phone and she said, "Oh, no, we'll be there. We don't have classes, but I could do a private lesson. Why don't you call me when you get in town?" And, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay, sure will. Put me down for like Monday, pencil me in. I said that. And then she goes, "I'll send you an invoice and all this." And I paid for it. And I knew I could move it around if I had to, but I didn't tell him. I broke the news when we were there. I said, I have a souvenir that I want to pick up, but it's not really something to take with me. It's a lesson. And he was like, "What?" And I had to show him on the internet what we had our laptop in the hotel room, and I showed him. And these sexy girls were doing it on the cliffs of the water. And he was like, "Are you going to look like that?" I said, "Well, I'll try. That's the whole game." And I wasn't even thinking at the time that, oh, this is exercise. I really wasn't, or anything like that. I was thinking, I want to do that cool spinning stuff. That just looks cool. And you have to also know, this is have to back up. I was a baton twirler, like for a good part of my life. And so anything, if I have something, this is one of my hoop things. If I have something in my hand, I feel secure. Like if I sit there and flip it and just mess with it. So I've always been that way ever since I was a little girl. And when I saw that lady on TV, she had it in her hand and she was spinning it up here and just doing stuff in the air. And I don't care about this waist hooping or, I didn't do that as a kid at all, but I did do, an object. And basically what all these things are, when you see people doing things with ropes and poi and fire things and it's in their hands, that's flow art. Like flow is like a thing. I didn't even know, but they do bigger batons. And so I'm very drawn to it. Anything spinning. I just knew, after seeing this woman with this hoop in her hand, I wanted to do that because of the spinning. Because it was something in my soul that I just was drawn to. So I did the lesson. They took me, dropped me off. I did my lesson. And the minute I started doing it, I couldn't spin it on my waist, but I felt so alive, Heather, like vertigo, what? Dizziness, what? I have altitude, what? I mean, none of that was in my brain. Like, for the first time in many years, I was just doing something fun because I wanted to do it and learn something new. And I didn't have any thought of any ailments or anything. All I was doing was learning something. I was like zeroed in on her every word. And it was just magical. And it was like an hour and a half lesson. And I said, you know what? I have not felt this alive in years. I said, I tried to do stage. No symptoms. No.
Oh my goodness.
No symptoms. And I was just like focused on this object and her and every word she said. And I would try it and I would drop it. She'd go pick it up again, try again. And it took my brain to a place of like newness where the brain had to just like totally focus, right? Mm-hmm. I look at that now and understand, because I understand what your brain craves now. Your brain wants to work like that. But when you're consumed with other thoughts, it doesn't work right.
Is it kind of meditative?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It is movement meditation. Absolutely. Yeah. So I told this woman, I go, I want to bring this home to my friends. Like, I want my friends to do this. Other women need to know. People in Texas aren't doing this. I was like, I'm sure they were. And they were. Okay.
Just weren't aware of it.
Scooping going on I didn't know where. It was mainly in Austin, where Austin's, that's the capital of all the coolness in Texas. I'm sure there was stuff going on in Austin, but not up where I lived. So I left there. I bought a hoop. Okay, they were going to ship it to me, so I didn't have it with me. But I called my friend from the car, and I said, "Girl, get ready. We're going to start hooping." And she's like, "What?" I said, "I'm going to send you a link. You watch it, and then I'm going to get a hoop, and I'm going to start teaching you how to do it." And I said, "And you know what? If I can teach this, I think this is what I want to do. Like, women need this. We need this." Like, I was so on, and that was the day I learned it. So that's how much passion I had for it. And that's when it started. So I came home That was in 2007. For that first couple of years, I did it at home, but I did it in my backyard. Didn't want anybody to see me doing it. Made myself sick, looking down, spinning around. I learned how to do it with the stuff I had, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at first it was great. And then when I started to really have to break down the moves, because they gave me a DVD with my hoop. This company's no longer in existence anymore, by the way. This is like, back then. But the DVD was gold, it taught me everything. And I learned by myself with this, right? DVD, took it outside, like a move or two, whatever I'm trying to learn. And some of the things they tell you to do just aren't vestibular friendly. That's not what I said back then, but now I know. And I had to teach myself how to accommodate and make that move work for me. So it might take me longer to learn something or do it a different way, but I was able to learn everything, and I got pretty good, and I was like, this is fun. And you go to some place and everybody's like, how do you do that? Well, let me show you that. And you just get taken to this playful place. And I really had a couple of years there where I still had symptoms, but I knew that they would pass. I had meclizine. It was like, at that point, I wasn't wondering what the hell's wrong with me. It's just like, well, I made myself dizzy. Like, that's what I would call it. I made myself have that vertigo. I need to slow down. I need to not bend over. I need to, so the doctor would say, how are you doing? I'll say, I'm fine. I get dizzy every now and then, but I know I'm not supposed to bend my head over a lot. They told me that in the ER years ago. And my doctor never really questioned anything about it because I didn't make a big deal about it. You see what I mean?
Right.
So
just kind of adjusted, it sounds like.
Yes, exactly. And there wasn't social media, so nobody was out there talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was probably, in a way, I think that did me well because I had to just suck it up. But I had the hoop. Okay. I had hooping. Yeah. And at that point I said, I'm going to teach this. Let's do it. I'm going to start a business. And my husband's just like, you're what? What are we doing? Because I didn't have this many hoops. Okay.
Right.
But I had quite a few, and I wanted to learn to make them. And that's just, watching other people, getting on YouTube, looking at the hoop that you bought, how's it made, studying what tools you need, all the things. I was engrossed in all this new stuff. I didn't have time for symptoms. They didn't come up a lot because I was so engrossed. And remember, I have grown children at this point. That's the other thing. It's like, I made it through my baby years and my toddler years, and all those years, I was a busy mom. I had, I can step back and tell you that. I have ADHD son. He was my first. My second has autism. I was involved. I was so over everything, like manager of everything. And oh my God, IEP meetings and special ed and all the things. I didn't have all this stuff back then. Mm-hmm. What I did have was probably anxiety, and I just masked it really well. You know what I mean? Like, I just kept going and kept myself real busy so that I wouldn't be, but I did have constant thought and fear about what's going to happen to these boys at school, because they couldn't handle classroom, mm-hmm. And we had medication, and we had therapies, and we had counseling, and we had it was everything for the kids. And my husband and I, we were both in agreement. We never really disagreed that what they needed. So that's one thing that's kept us together for 40 years. Is like, the kids didn't break us because we knew they needed everything they needed. We were totally in agreement. But it wasn't until after all of that, and they kind of get on their path, doing their things. They're doing great, by the way, as adults.
Good.
Yeah. They're quirky. They're different, but they're doing great. But I could pour myself into something at the age of 40, whatever, 47, right? 48. So I said, my 50th season, my 50s are going to be rocking. I'm going to be hula hooping. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be teaching it. And that's what happened. And that's what happened. Yeah. And that's part of menopause, Heather. I think the part that women don't talk about enough. They're always worried about hormones. What's my hormones going to do? Hormones. I was worried about, what am I going to do for me? This is a new chapter, a new season. I already knew my ovaries are shutting down. I've lost my estrogen. I'm osteopenia, now osteoporosis, because I did not monitor my estrogen. But that's okay. I'm good. I'm way past menopause, and I didn't really need any HRT. Learned my lesson, should have probably taken some because of my estrogen levels. But,
yeah,
you know, I took care of this for menopause,
right.
and that with hooping.
That's huge, though.
It's huge. Oh, huge. And I didn't have a lot of menopausal symptoms, but I still had the dizziness. You know, I still knew. And again, the stressors of trying to prove my husband wrong, and I did pretty much, that I couldn't make this thing fly. I had to be on 24/7. And I'm back, you know, theatrical background, performance background. This ticked all the boxes. I got to have exercise, which you need in menopause. I got to be creative, make them, be creative, do social media, do all the things, plus be active, teaching. I was my own marketing. I was out in the community. I didn't have time to focus on my dizziness.
Right.
So everybody now looks back and goes, how did you survive all that? I just ignored the symptoms, and then I went to the ER, basically. And that was kind of a revolving door kind of situation. My husband had it up to here with me, but we just treated it like, you know, you need to listen to your body, Geri, you know, you're doing too much. I said, but you know, you told me if I don't make this work, you're not going to, you know, help me. And because he was like basically the backer of this thing, is, you know, you have to invest and find a place to rent to teach in. And I was teaching in a big warehouse with those big doors with no heat, no air. Winters were cold. Summers were hot, in a metal box with a bunch of hoopers. You know, you're sweating. And I was this big around, you know, it's great. I was looking svelte for 50 something, but I was not doing my body well, you know? Yeah. And that's the one thing. And I hid it a lot. Like, I didn't want people to know I had what I had. And then some of my very good friends that kind of would help me with the business, the initial women, they kind of became teacher helpers, and they knew, and they would be like, Geri, go sit down. You're doing too much. You know, so some of the inner circle of my friends knew. And it wasn't until 2010, because it started in 2009, and it took about a year for all this to catch up to me. I did have an ER visit, and that's the first time they ever mentioned vestibular migraine, but they called it
migraine-associated vertigo.
Yes. And the reason they told me that was because I just kept saying, I don't want the light. I don't want the light. And the migraine cocktail worked well, you know, for me. And so when they told me that, I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Well, and they said, you know, you need to make sure that you know, avoid stress. They didn't ever use the word anxiety or PPPD. None of that ever came up.
Yeah.
But I just tried to avoid stress. And that was hard because I was a year into this business, and I knew my husband was going to pull the rug if I didn't, you know, make it work. So what we ended up doing was just doing different schedules, and I adjusted my time, and I got a bunch more, you know, girls to help. And I just kept rocking along. And every now and then I would just have to say, class is canceled. I have to stay home. I'm having lightheadedness is what I called it. It was really dizziness, but, and at that point, I really truly believed that PPPD had already taken over, because I was I felt like that that was like my baseline, Heather. It was bad. Yeah. I just walked around the house, just kind of, but I didn't complain because I didn't know what it was. And I was too scared to find out. I didn't want somebody to tell me I had a tumor in my head. I didn't want somebody to tell me. I really didn't want to know. I just thought, if I can go hoop, I'll feel better. That's when I felt my best. So I'd be in my hoop outside, and I didn't feel bad. Right. And, you know, now I know, because I've learned a lot in the last 6 months. Thank you to Instagram and all the professionals that are on Instagram and all, you know what I mean? That's where I've learned a lot, and went to the doctor. Well, I'm sure I'll get into that in just a little bit. But now that I know, I look back and I go, well, my body knew what it needed, and I listened. Right. Now, and that was the movement, and that was what I loved and my passion. And that's where I felt my safe zone. This grounds me. I would literally take a hoop and just sit on the floor. This is before I knew what grounding was. I certainly didn't, but I would sit on the floor in my hoop, and I would just feel so good, because I knew this is one thing I can control. That with me, with this, I can control myself. And you can't tell me I have anything wrong with me when I have a hoop in my hand. So just shut up. And that's how.
I love that you say that, because so many of us get caught up in the symptoms that
Yes.
we don't move forward. And I love that you were sitting in something you're so passionate about and saying, this is what I'm going to give my energy
bring
to.
Me down. And I fought it tooth and nail for years and years. But there also wasn't all the information.
Right.
So it's like God,
it's kind of a blessing.
God knew when the right time was going to be.
Right.
Right. I didn't know, but God knows. And he just led me to this time and place. So I had to be patient. Mm-hmm. There's so much, I don't want to get a whole religious thing about it, but I'm totally know with every fiber of my being that God has my back 100%. I don't talk about it a lot. I do. Mm-hmm. People know I'm of faith, but I don't like shove it down anybody's throat. It's something that a lot of people do not know. And I've talked about it on my Facebook page. That's where my largest following is. And I've had that page since 2009. Hold on.
No problem.
But I think there is a lot of people talk about their trauma in life. And I did not have childhood trauma in the sense of, abuse, neglect, any deviance or anything wrong at home. Okay. I had a wonderful father and mother. They loved me dearly, treated me wonderful. I was my daddy's baby girl. My sisters are 10 years older. I took dance lessons. They did everything for me. They probably couldn't afford half the crap they did for me. Right. They both died before I was 25. And I myself was with my mom the day that my dad died. I wasn't even supposed to be home that day.
I read that in your blog. That was very
rough. So that is where I do believe that my deepest trauma is there, because I never really dealt with it. Sure. I wrote about it a lot. I talk about it to my friends. They know, but I never really dealt with that. And I think it held into my nervous system so heavy that set me up, because I never really had any issues other than my vestibular system is probably primed, because of the way that I handle motion all my life. I'm just saying that there's anxiety there from that one event, because that was a very traumatic thing for me, but I just kind of brushed it off and went about living. And I think that it's surfacing now even more as an adult, because I have a husband. We're both over the age of what my mother died when she was 63, and I'm 63 now. And it kind of, we're at that age, and I'm like, I cannot imagine what that felt like to lose your spouse at that age. It's so young, right? Yeah. But I looked at my mother as old lady, So it's just a time in my life where I get all this introspective stuff that you think you're not thinking about, but you're thinking about it.
Sure.
And it comes out in your nervous system. Right. Because this stuff with the PPPD, ever since I'd say 2020, it's just been bad, really bad. And thankfully there's all this information now out in the world, or, in the internet and Veda and all the things. I mean, I could read so much about it, and I'm like, okay, it's time. I must go to the doctor. Like, it's so just time.
Have you had an increase in symptoms since 2020?
So through my business years, when I had my locations, because that went from like 2010 to like 2019, 19, we had 3 different locations, because I kept sizing down. I had symptoms all through that, but they were just like 2-3 day events where I would have the hangover, and same, basically a vestibular migraine event. And I had some vertigo with that, but it wasn't like it was everyday dizziness. Okay. Like, really, I'm starting to get it again. That didn't happen until 2020. And the only thing I had testing before all that was like MRI, heart, because it was, at 60, it's like, okay, right around 60, 2020. I think that was when I really said, let's do the MRI on the heart. But the doctor never said, we'll do an ENT if it didn't show anything. And when he told me that, I was like, here we go. We go to the ENT. What? Because I did that like 5 years ago. And they said, well, you got some sinus, whatever. It was just, nobody ever said vestibular, whatever. It's like the BPPV, it's not there. You don't have any dizziness. They checked me for nystagmus or whatever. And like, no, you don't have it now. And that's how that went on. But in 2020, with everybody staying home, and I was on my computer a lot more, and I was really busy, because everybody now women would see me and what am I doing? There's nothing to do. I would make videos, fun videos. Oh my gosh, my Facebook lives back in 2020 were so fun. And then I'd get like 3 hoop orders and I would be doing this. And I was just constantly busy, but I was constantly dizzy. Oh, I made a rhyme.
You did.
Dizzy, but I was constantly dizzy. I was though, and I was doing like on Facebook lives back then. I was real dizzy during those. It was just kind of like that one margarita in kind of feeling. I had it 24/7. And my husband goes, I want some of that. Can I get loud? I was like, oh, babe, you can have it.
Yeah.
Because I remember I'd walk down the hall and it would be like, I'd have me bouncing off the hall. But it was just my nervous system, really, because had so much on my plate, even though we weren't going anywhere. I had people to see and meet right here. And it was a great time for me. I had already pivoted to the online space. So I had my course online.
Is that when you were coaching? You were coaching for women over 50, right?
Right. That's when it really kind of took a hold, because my third location was an Airbnb and we were doing really well with it. And it was close to our house. And we lived near the Cowboys, where the Cowboys play. And the Texas Rangers play. That's where in Arlington. And so we would have people come in. It was a great Airbnb. And I taught there during the week. It was a cute little boutique house. I just loved it. But then the city outlawed it. We have to be over by the stadium to have an Airbnb. Okay. And ours was over here on the other side of town. Yeah. So we sold the house and I started teaching here at the house if I had to. But I basically was going to try to do everything online. And that was early 2019. So I'd already put my website was changed. Everything was great. So when 2020 came, all I had to do was get online on Facebook and I started meeting new ladies and I got a whole lot of new women and met them. And so I got all these great women and I was still I'd have to shut down and say, y'all, I can't teach today. I'm really just having a migraine. I said, I think this is vestibular migraine from what I'm reading online. You know, at that point it was all over the internet. I said, and I don't know, I probably need to go to the doctor for it, but if I just rest, I feel better. And that's what I would say. And there's Facebook Lives where I'm talking and I'm like, y'all, I'm having this vestibular crap today. Yeah. So, and then I guess it was probably the thing that pushed me over the edge to go to the doctor was reading Alicia Dizzy Cook. Right. And she talked about her journey. And I'm like, this is what I've been through, but I've been through it a lot longer. I need to do this. If she can do it, I can do it. And these women, now I'm talking to women and meeting women, they have children. And I'm like, oh, Lord.
Can you imagine?
I can't even, because I just can't even have to deal with anybody but me. And so my heart goes out to every single woman that's listening right now that has children. Hats off to you ladies. I don't know how you're doing it, because I couldn't have. I was a mom in a different era. Right. Yeah. And I was dealing with different issues back then. Thank God I didn't have this to deal with, because my kids were plenty, let me tell you. So God knows, like, let's don't give her too much. Let's wait to give her this until she's older and she's by herself. And if it wasn't for my husband, I don't know how I would have handled it, because he's the one that's always been here to like pick up, and I just have to go, honey. And he knows that sound.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's it's years and years of it. So for him, he was just like, finally, let's go. And I showed him Alicia's website, and I showed him what she was writing, and I showed him some of the people on, not you, because I hadn't found you yet, but some of the professionals that are on, the therapists that are on Instagram. Right. And he goes, well, what about Mark Cuban? He went to so-and-so. And I said, this is who he went to. And so he was like, well, if Mark Cuban went to, let's try to go to them. And I said, no, hang up, hold up. And I showed him Victory Over Migraine on the, like Dr. Bay's book. And I said, now this guy, he's over in Dallas, but he has like an 8-month wait. Right. And I said, I want to go to him. Mm-hmm. Because like, he's the one, like everything he talks about, I've watched videos. I showed him the YouTube. Mm-hmm. I was able to get in with him a lot sooner because I waited. They sent me all the information once about a year prior. And I was like, oh my God, I'll get on the list, I guess. And it was a long list. He wasn't doing televisits yet. Oh. And then when he started doing the televisits, I got in like within like weeks. Oh, good. And that's when I had my visit with him in late February. I decided, because of Alicia, to do a whole team approach, and I went to Southwestern, UT Southwestern. and did, because I know that's where Dr. Bay used to practice before he started on his own. And come to find out, UT Southwestern has like satellite hospitals. There's one over in Fort Worth, which is a little bit closer for me. And that way I could go to the ENT, neurology. Everybody would be in one spot, right?
Right.
And I just thought that would be better. And I just told my primary, I'm going to do it. I don't have to get a referral, luckily. And he says, well, good, go handle it. And I'm sure he's thinking, I sure didn't want to do anything because I don't know what the hell's wrong with it. So, but it was because of finding Alicia and reading what she had gone through. And then I did some the VNG testing. I had joined Vestibular Group Fit, which is Heather's group, or not Heather, listen to me, Madison's group, right before I started everything. And that was a breath of fresh air because I felt like I just need some confidence, y'all. Tell me about the VNG test. And of course, that scared the hell out of me. And I was crying the day before. And then Madison and Jenna and some of the others really talked me off the ledge then. And the next morning, we're sitting there, and my husband's like, what is going on with you? You're not scared this morning. And I said, my vestibular friends in the group talked me down. I'm going to do this. I just have to keep saying, I am safe.
Yeah,
I am, and it was because of the ladies in the group, that it really helped me the night before. I was in tears the day before it. I was in tears because I was ready to cancel. Because again, I was so scared to get dizzy. And, come to find out, it's controlled. You're in total darkness. You feel a little off, but it's over in 30 seconds. I mean, it was not anything to be scared of. No. And compared to what I'd been through for years and years, it was a piece of cake. Right. So, it was just like, whew, that was nothing. But that helped find out that I had, they said, we suspect PPPD, and vestibular migraine. And they gave me a little bit of information. But you've already got your appointment set with Dr. Bay. That's wonderful. Like, they were really glad to hear that. And then they did the audiology report and everything. And my hearing is a little diminished on this side, but it's not enough to say Meniere's. And they were thinking that years ago, but then I never had any hearing loss, so they couldn't really go there. Yeah. That was when I went to the audiologist, in the 2000s sometime. And now with the heat and I take nortriptyline. That's on my treatment plan. Okay. And I noticed let me go back and tell you a little bit. I have a cautionary tale about medicine. This is good. I didn't know what I had years ago, but I knew I had migraine. Remember we talked about that? Right. I took Excedrin every day, Excedrin migraine, every day in the morning. First thing, I had a pill case that had 2 Excedrin and 2 Sudafed every morning because of that feeling. And I took that probably starting in the 90s until 2023. Oh my goodness. No, I did drop off the migraine, Excedrin. That they told me to stop taking because I was having a rebound because of that medicine. Nobody said to stop the Sudafed. And I took the Sudafed every morning, probably from around 2000 and mid 2000s. I stopped the Excedrin, but kept the Sudafed. And that back in the old days, it was on the shelf. But then all the years when it was every month, 2 months, whatever, however much I had. Right. And so when I went to go pick up my nortriptyline, even Dr. Bay goes, you may want to stop your, decongestant a while or whatever. I was like, okay. And I'm thinking in my head, whatever. I didn't, but the pharmacist, which I really wanted to talk to him because I've never taken anything like this. I need you to give me all the good things I need to know. And he goes, do you take any decongestants? And I said, yeah, I come here every month. You're my dealer. I come here every month to get my Sudafed. And he said, you need to stop taking that. You take it every day. And I said, yeah. And your primary care lets you? And I said, well, I just tell him I take it in the morning. He doesn't ever ask. He goes, no, you need to get off that. And I was like, oh. He goes, I know. I said, but then he goes, you're taking it to help your dizziness and all the things. And you need to be off the stimulant. You don't know how your body's going to react. You can maybe go back to it or whatever. So I stopped that and started my nortriptyline. I felt awful. Like I was just like, babe, I'm not any better. In fact, I feel worse.
Mm-hmm.
But I have not taken Sudafed since. And what happened to me in, let me clarify though. I didn't take the Sudafed because I wanted to be all speeded out for a few
Right.
hours in the morning, because I still drank coffee, a decaf, or sometimes regular. It wasn't that. It was because I had that full feeling every
Mm-hmm.
morning all my life, and that's what it was helping me for a little bit, but then it was probably not helping me and gave me more symptoms over the years. I'm sure did not do
Right.
me justice. But anyway, I started the nortriptyline, felt horrible, and I'm looking back now, I think it's because I was withdrawing off Sudafed daily. I never could take it in the late part of the day. I just took it in the morning, and I slept okay. So I was real good with it. I didn't take it past like 10. But anyway, I had an MRI that I had to go do, like it was on schedule, that my ENT set up. And it was going to be not quite to the 2-week mark of my new nortriptyline. And I was cool. I was okay, let's go. We went. And when I laid down, Heather, in that thing, I started to feel weird. Just felt bad. Like, I just don't feel good. And then I go, oh, but they put that nice music on me, laid back. It started. It was like, the things are happening. And during it, I was like, I don't know, man. I'm seeing like tripping out colors. I'm like, I'm laying there and I'm like, my eyes were closed. And I'm like, what's going on? But I didn't really feel like I was going to throw up or anything. It just felt weird. So when I got out of there, I said, oh, I'm lightheaded. They help me up. And I sat there a minute. I said, I just need something to drink, cool off. So I had to wait like in the little reception area at the hospital. I drank some water or whatever. And I made it fine home. And I went, you know what? Let's get lunch. And he goes, we stopped Subway. I had to get something to eat. Then I napped in my recliner for probably 3 hours. I was out. But they did it with and without contrast. So it was a long MRI.
Yeah.
I don't think I drank enough water, really, to wash that stuff out. But I woke up and I was like, ooh, my head felt really full. And I just happened to have my blood pressure thing over here, because that's another thing they're checking me to make sure my blood pressure is not too high because of all the, medicine changes and stuff. His insurance is that way. They get up in your business and they say, we're going to send you a blood pressure cup. Anyway, I checked my blood pressure and it was like the highest I've ever seen it. And that freaked me out. And so now there was no talking me off the ledge. Now I'm going to have a heart attack. Y'all need to, Robert, come here. Look at this. And then it just got higher and higher. And so it was like 192 over 90 something. And I'm like, what is going on? Call EMT now. And he's just like, babe, take a clozapam. We have one. Would that calm you down? I don't know. I've never taken one, but I need somebody now. I was in full panic. And this was not like I hadn't even been on the medicine 2 weeks. And I'd never taken one of those other tablets. I didn't want to. Right. And they took me to the ER. If I would have just calmed down, but when you're in the thick of it, I was a total panic. And they were like, yeah, you have high blood pressure. This is high. But she has what? She has clozapam. She can take. What, you want to take one of those, Miss McNeeds? No, I don't. I was so scared. So they took me, and that was like a $1,500 lesson to just take the damn pill. And now I have since had to take it like 3 times. They were wonderful, I'm proud to say. And Dr. Bay immediately calls after I left a message, and he goes, Geri, it has not even been 2 weeks. Give the medicine a chance.
Right.
Increase to your 20. And I was like, do I have to do it right away? He goes, no, you can stay on 10, but just try the 20 a day. And I was like, I will. He goes, okay, let me know. And I did. And like the 2 days after or even a day after I did that, because I take it like morning and night. I don't take it all together.
Right.
It's been so much better. I just had to get over those hurdles with it.
Right.
And it's, I just look back and I'm like, now it's wonderful. Even if I have a flare day, which I've had like 3 or 4 since, this 3 months maybe.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And I just had my 4-month follow-up with him, and he said, you're rare. This is good. You're doing good. You haven't had to switch medicines.
No.
And I said, I'm doing a little bit of diet things that I think they do kind of trigger me. So I kind of slack off on those. I can have a little of just whatever I want. But if I overdo, give me all that, let's go get a muffaletta with all that meat and cheese on it. No, I can't do that. That's too much. And I'm Italian. I love me a muffaletta, but I'm in for pain if that happens. It's just, so I don't eat those anymore. But I can have a little piece of ham. I can have a little piece. It's not going to kill me.
Yeah, just moderation.
That's how I treat my diet. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, Geri. I'm assuming that you don't do VRT because the hooping, I imagine, is a VRT.
I did do VRT, and I graduated
early.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yes, and my therapist, I did some cute. I still have footage on my phone, real material, but I did talk about it in a live. They are just, my therapist here in town, she was just like, the hoop is like therapy for you. Like, Perfect. Look at what you do with your feet when you hoop. You move like proprioception. You've got to move one way then the other very quick. And I'm like, yeah, I do. Oh yeah. Okay. I get it. Like that's probably, she says, that's why you've been able to function, because you're constantly giving yourself VRT.
Yeah. And that's actually, honestly, that is why I stopped my scroll when I saw you. I don't know. I was probably under a hashtag I was following.
I've never had anybody tell me that. I've stopped my scroll.
I stopped my scroll. I'm like, whoa, back it up here. What is she doing? Hashtag vestibular. And I or whatever the hashtag was. And you were, I'm like, okay, what is going on here? This looks fun. Who wouldn't want to hula hoop? Especially over.
And that's what I'm glad. That's what I really want to do now. See, this is since VRT, I've got this confidence in me that God's given me a new purpose. I'm trying to help women who have vestibular issues have some joy.
Let me tell you, I've got some things going on in my head right now for some events for Vita, and we're talking after this.
Okay, let me tell you this. And just being honest, I really want to get involved with Vita.
Awesome. We'll talk, for sure. I can
later off record. We can, but I want to tell my story, and then I want to be able to be out there because I want people who are like us to find me. And if they want to hoop, I'm your girl. Like I
love that.
This is the way I'm running my business now. I'm running my business from my heart. Oh, certainly I'm going to have a fee for whatever I do. But I think the whole way my website looks is probably going to change. I'm going to scale it back. I'm not going to have a boutique. I'm just going to say, here's a hoop. This is what you order. Here's the course. And if you've got vestibular issues, I'm your girl because I can tell you how to do this and not flare yourself. Because if you know what you're doing, you will make yourself dizzy and you will not feel good. And that's the last thing I want any woman to do is get a hoop and feel bad about it and hate it.
Well, I told you before we got on, I would love to do it, but I'm a little intimidated. I haven't had a hoop around my hips since I was a little girl, but it looks so fun.
It is fun, and you can do it. Every woman can do it. And when I say you can hoop, there's so many ways to hoop. It's not all just about on your body. You've seen, we do it up here too. And the thing with doing it up here and doing it with your hands, it's tactile. It's like a fidget spinner. And people like us that have lots of stuff going on in our nervous system, we need a fidget spinner. It's just a big old fidget spinner.
That's true.
And so I constantly have to be doing like this. When I take a walk, a lot of the times I'll take a really small hoop, just spin it on my fingers. And everybody in my neighborhood knows that I'm the woman with the hoop. They don't look at me weird anymore. but it's what I don't care really.
That's you.
But I mean, it awesome. Does, and then it's an upper body workout too. So you're getting a little more cardio and a little more stuff going on than just walking. So that's why I always like to take it as when it's a safety thing. Because nobody's going to come to you when you got this hoop in your hand. They just think, what the hell is she? It's safety. I don't feel like anybody's going to attack me because they don't want to. I could swing it in front of you, or whatever.
Right.
So
how can we support you in the community, Geri?
Wow. Visit my socials because I put a lot of love in there.
You do.
And I really have pulled back a lot. I don't think I've posted in a couple of days, which is the longest I've gone in a long time. But I'm really trying to honor my just if I have a flare, I'm not trying to rush back into got to get online and look at my screens, because that's a really big thing for me.
Right.
And I'm sure that's just getting older. My eyes get tired, and social media is hard to keep your presence. It's hard to keep up with it all. And
the pressure we put on ourselves.
I have a business, but say what?
The pressure we put on ourselves to keep up with everything, trying to post every day. I don't even do that anymore.
Changing, and the rules are always changing, and you better be listening to that meeting that you just had with this social media coach or that social media coach. And my bandwidth is so much less nowadays.
Yeah.
But I have content, that goes back years. So I just pull something, I'll recycle it, or, but the point of this is, if people will just, remember to give me a like or whatever, because it helps, because I'm not on there like I used to be. But everything I create is very intentional, and I'm making it for somebody. I don't know who yet, or who it's speaking to, but everything is. So visit my social and visit my website so that you can understand what it's about.
I will leave all that information below.
Please do.
Absolutely. Well, if you have anything else to say, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to jump into whirlwind questions. I feel like we could talk all afternoon.
Well, anytime you want to talk again, you just let me know.
Okay.
I'm game, because I love helping women understand more about how to move with fun and not make it such a drudgery, because I have learned that we need movement. And I didn't know at the time, all those years, that I was really doing myself so much good by moving in a way that I really loved. And that's what it really hurts my heart to see anybody struggling with, well, I've got to go move. I've got to do that. No, baby, I get to go hoop. That's the way I look at it all the time.
Yeah.
And I want other women to understand that there's so much more fun things out there. If you just open your eyes, you just never know what's going to drop into your life. I wasn't even looking for it, and it just boom. And it changed me so much. So just eyes open.
Yeah, I love just changing that one word. I get to hoop, not you have to, or get to exercise.
Get to hoop. And that's the way, and it's an everyday thing for me. Maybe it's just a few minutes. And on a flare day, I'm not like moving all the time with it, but as soon as I feel like I can get up and walk, you better bet I've got to pick it up and just like mess with it in my hands, and maybe go take a little stroll out back. I just the movement. And when I know and I have a history of it, it's for years and years. I know how good it makes me feel. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to feel goodness. You don't want to feel like you have to, how many more reps do I have to do? How many more counts do I have to do? That's
no, you don't want to dread it.
Never on the table with this. And I'm not saying it's the only thing somebody should do, but it's a great thing to have in your arsenal. Oh my gosh. That. And then it's for yoga. I love Pilates, and I've done both of those, but this is just another element of it. Same kind of movement, same kind of, you know what I mean? Same kind of benefits there, but in different modality, in a little more playful way.
Yeah.
Kind of like, and you do not think of anything else when you're hooping. Like you just think of how good it feels, and let's have a fun time. And you're laughing. And
something you can do with your children
just so
too.
Fun.
Yeah.
And you can do it. It's the one, and that's the other part to it is I am older now, and my ideal client is women of my age, like maybe 40, 50 plus, whatever. But oh my gosh, the mamas out there, with daughters like you have a 10-year-old and even younger. If I would have had that when my boys were young, it would have been a little bit of a respite for me to just go outside and hoop while they're doing their thing, right? I didn't even do that stuff like that with my boys.
Yeah.
I wish I would have, but so I can serve mamas. Sure. I mean, that's
awesome.
It's a great thing. And it's really beneficial. And a lot of people don't really understand it. They just see it and think Cirque du Soleil, I don't get that. There's a lot of deeper meaning there. A lot of stuff going on with it. That's just fun.
No, just watching your reels and scrolling through your Instagram, the energy that you bring forth and the joy, it's palpable, and I just love it. And it's I think we all need a
And
little bit of that in our
it's
lives.
100% authentic. You know what? That's
Yes,
the
I
other
know
thing,
that.
is I knew when I found it that I'm not wearing any kind of hat, mask, whatever. I'm not,
Right.
this is me, like 100%. I grew up doing dance and baton twirling, and now I find this thing I get to spin. Oh my gosh. And everybody that knows me from when I was little, they're saying, this is so you. How did you find this? I'm like, and I came off the heels. I quit my banking job, but you know, I loved customer service as you know, in the workforce. But the one thing I knew that wasn't authentically me was that I had to cross sell products. You know, that's one of your jobs when you work.
Right.
And I never felt authentic trying to offer somebody something that I really didn't think they needed, but you got to talk it up because you got to win this prize, or you got to, you know, whatever.
Yes.
And there was like, I'm not even telling one little bitty iota of a fib. Like everything I talk about with hooping is like the truth. And it's like, so yeah, it was the first time I'd ever experienced that feeling of being able to share with people something I'm so passionate about. So that was kind of cool to find that.
I'm so happy I found you. I'm so happy I reached out to you and we're talking today.
I know.
Well, before we go, I wanted to end with a little something fun, which is the whirlwind questions. So Are you ready?
I guess.
Okay. There's no wrong answers. In one word,
all right.
what has living with a vestibular disorder taught you?
Oh man. Grace. Patience. Yeah, I give myself a lot of grace now that I didn't give before. For sure.
Yeah.
A lot of grace. And that's something about, I think, just even getting to be my 60s, give myself a lot more grace. Can't keep doing everything you used to do. You're not who you were. Every day you're a day older. Not doom and gloom, but just grace.
Yep. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fill in the blank. Vestibular disorders are
misunderstood by the general public. They don't know.
No.
Heck, we didn't know until we got our diagnoses. You know what I mean? And really had to start.
We still struggle with sometimes.
Right. But I think they're very misunderstood and hard. Hard.
Geri, you feel your symptoms coming on. What's the first thing you do?
Grab something. Grab or sit in my chair and breathe really, really slowly and deeply through my nose only, with an ocean breath. And I just sit there. It's usually sitting, and I just breathe. And I just say, this pass. I talk to myself. I'm internal. I don't talk out loud, but I'm talking in my head. It's pass. And I'll probably, if it's within a minute or two and I still feel just like I feel it, I'll probably get up and get my bag and take a meclizine, I won't take a meclizine now. That's what I used to do. I'll probably just, because I would have taken my normal meds, but I'd probably do eye drops. Timolol eye drops. Those are I probably would take a drop of those and then let sit and probably get I have Gammacore. Probably do Gammacore. That thing's wonderful too. Yeah. That's another one of my treatments. Yeah, heard that. It's really, really good. But I also recently have been kind of studying vagus nerve stuff. So I'd probably do some vagus nerve stretches and things. And I've had to do that recently, like, just last couple of weeks, right?
Right.
And then I just let it go. Let go of the God Almighty screen, phone, whatever. That seems to be the one that, you're feeling bad, but you still want to look at it. No, I got to get rid of it.
I have to put it in the other room.
Yes.
And just, but then once you do that, once you do that, there's almost, there is a calmness that comes over you. And I don't even want to go back to it because it seems like the more I'm on it.
Believe me, I'm living it right now. 2 days not posting, just barely commenting to somebody because I'm just like, I don't even have the bandwidth to pick that phone up and do a post. I don't. And I think that's a common collective feeling we all have, but nobody's really acting on it.
Yeah.
Because of the pressure.
Yeah.
And it's just sad. It's very, very sad because we didn't grow up that way. No. There was a time, and, unfortunately kids that are growing up that don't even know what that time is like.
I know.
I feel so bad for them. They missed it. They missed the good old days where we didn't even have this thing, like in our hands.
I know. I talked to my daughter, who's about to be 10, as you know, about that we would go out in the morning and not come back till the streetlights came on. She goes, "What would you do?"
Doesn't that sound like we're just old people? But that's so true.
And we'd come back.
The streetlights came on. We went home. That sounds like such an, like something back in the 20s when the streetlights came on. But it's like, that's the truth. And when you could tell who was over at people's houses by the bikes in the yard. Remember, you're like, oh, so-and-so's there. You knew the bikes. Yeah. They don't do that anymore.
No. No. All screens. Well, let's see. What is one thing that people usually get wrong about you?
Oh, that I'm just outgoing and extroverted 100% of the time. Like, that's just who I am. And while that is true, I'm very introverted too. I could stay home every day and not go anywhere, and I love it. Yeah. I don't like, I don't know if it's because I'm in my 60s now. We just don't have the energy we used to have. And I don't miss it. I'm not sad about it. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to I'm really happy with where I'm at. So that I don't have to go expand that energy, to be honest. Right. And that's why I think a lot of people are intimidated, thinking I'm so outgoing that I'm going to, push them so hard. If they want to come to do this, it's going to be perky and happy. And I don't know. I did that. It was another life. Like, that was a while ago. I'm tired, and I'm just here to have a nice time, a quiet time. Even a girlfriend came over last night that how you have your bestest friends that you don't see for 6 months, but if you can just pick up like that. Yep. That's who this woman is. And we were supposed to go out to dinner, and just a girls' night to go dinner. And I called her, or I texted her, and I said, "Better idea. You come over here. I'll have everything ready. We'll just sit down at the table." She was like, "Thank you." Oh, yeah. Like, I don't want to go to the restaurant. I don't even want to go listen to the people. I don't want to be in it's 113 feels like outside. I don't want to go. I know. I love that. Yeah. Yep. All my girlfriends like that live quite a distance away. Oh. And I miss that. Just vegging, doing nothing. Just doing nothing. And that's what we did. And we had a great time. It was just quiet. Even my husband was here, and he did the yard, but it was just us in the kitchen, and we were just talking. And she goes, "I am so glad you suggested this. This is way better than going and, sitting with everybody loud and clinking glasses." And that was a season ago. We're not in that season anymore. Right. Nor am I, even though I have a 10-year-old. It's different because I'm not. But you understand. But there was a time in life where you would go. Absolutely. Let's go to the club. Out there, and then it's okay out all night and go to work with 3 hours sleep. Yes. Yeah, it's okay to slow down. Absolutely. And again, those with the children, I get it. But gosh, God love you. Hats off to you, Mama. What is your favorite vestibular friendly meal? Ooh. One of the things I eat all the time if I'm just a little hungry and I think it's going to be good, like just fill my tummy a little bit, I might do applesauce. I love applesauce. Unsweetened, organic. I buy it at Costco. A little bit of applesauce. It's one of my things. I'll take my medicine and then I'll have a few spoonfuls of applesauce. I have a little jar in the refrigerator. What's another vestibular friendly food? Well, I don't eat any cheeses anymore, so I do dig a piece of fresh mozzarella, but I don't eat it all the time. Cheerios. A bowl of Cheerios with some coconut milk. Oh, yeah, that sounds lovely. I'm very bland food. Yeah. I like spicy food and I like all that stuff, but they're not very vestibular friendly. And if I'm really having a hangover day, like after like a day 2, which I really don't get those anymore. I get like a day 1 and I'm done. So that's good. That's real progress. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I tend to crave brown rice in my chicken noodle soup. Like I make the chicken noodle soup from the can sometimes, but I always add stuff. Like I add extra water to dilute the sodium a lot.
Yeah.
And my husband can't stand when I dilute stuff, but that's because I need to be low sodium.
Right.
So, but I like to add rice and maybe pepper or some Mrs. Dash into that soup. So soup for me is just, soup, chicken soup. If I can make it from scratch, even better, which I do sometime. One more. I got one for you. Like a vegetable soup that you make from scratch. Just like get every vegetable, like have some spinach and some, think of all the vegetables, potatoes and onions and all the things, and then some carrots and celery and anything. Okay. Yeah. Then you cut them all, zucchini and some squash, chunk all that up into like your stone pot or whatever. So we have a stone pot. And then just put like some vegetable stock and just let it simmer and just get all, just like a vegetable. It's almost like a cleansing soup kind of thing. I could eat the whole pot. My husband totally hates it.
Oh God.
But when I'm vestibularly, I need soup. Yeah. It's usually my thing.
Nice. What's your favorite book or novel?
Oh, wow. My favorite book or novel. Right now, this Victory Over Migraine, Vestibular Migraine. That's my favorite book, I must say.
Yeah.
I do love anything by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Love him.
Yeah.
Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, I think. Yeah. That's he's written more than one like that, but I just love that book, his books.
Yeah.
And novel wise, man, The Four Agreements is another one I really like.
That's my most gifted book, The Four Agreements, that I give out.
Wonderful book. And I did the whole Oprah thing years and years ago. That's really when I got super present, in life. It was after that. Do you remember on Oprah when she did A New Earth?
Yeah.
With Eckhart Tolle? Oh man.
I bought the CD collection.
I have it right back over there. I still just pick up and read a chapter. Yeah, that's a good book too. Yeah. But it was about that time I discovered hooping.
Oh wow. That's awesome.
And it was 2008, 7-8. And that was a big pivotal change for me because I started to think of things around me and what was, and your passions and all the things. I mean, it was just like, that was a really pivotal, and if it wasn't for that book and that whole series, because you remember it was a book study, I did it, man. I had a spiral written. I did the whole thing. And I pretty much, if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have acted upon the hoop. You know what I mean?
Yes,
because it just was there, and I noticed what I was drawn to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really think that a lot.
Yeah.
It's the universe is God. God is the universe. I mean, so that's the way I kind of took it, and it's true. And the same thing with Dr. Wayne Dyer. It just it's true. And like when he breaks down the Tao and all the different, girl, you put that in your ear. Get it like on the Audible or Wisdom of the Tao. Look here. It just take one a day and listen to, and when he breaks it down, it is.
I haven't listened to that one.
I do the Empower You, which is the Hay House's Audible, basically, right? And so you can listen to anything Wayne Dyer, and that he's on my, like, I just go for a walk and listen to that. And it always applies. Whatever you just put it in, and he's talking about how we treat whoever or whatever
you needed to hear that day.
Up, that one piece of the dial just hits you. It's like, I needed to hear that today. Yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah.
What is one movie that you could watch over and over and never tire of? Your face.
I love any musical that has ever been made. I've probably seen them 5 times. But I could watch, like, if it's on, I will stop and watch the whole thing. That's not musical. Forrest Gump, I will watch it every time it's on.
Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption, every time it's on. I'll just stop what I'm doing and finish watching it.
Right.
But musical wise, there's so many good musicals that I could just see. The King and I.
Yeah.
Any Rodgers and Hammerstein. I could just watch them. State Fair, Carousel, Fiddler on the Roof, and I've been in many of these shows, but I mean,
right.
I would watch and sing along,
That's awesome.
That's the way I grew up. My mother raised me on watching all those old black and white films. If you've never seen Imitation of Life, seen it? Look that one up.
Imitation of Life.
Anytime it's on. Oh my God! It's not a musical. It's about it's a black and a maid to this white woman. It's got, I don't even remember who's in it. Lana Turner. Anyway, what about The Bad Seed?
It just seems I've seen that.
That's about the little girl. She's a bad seed. She killed a little boy, and it's a black and white movie. It's been remade in the new times, and the original Star is Born. The Judy Garland.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Good stuff.
Anything, and old Betty Davis movies. Because I do Turner Classic Movies occasionally. I'll just pop it on, and if whatever's on, man, I'm down. I don't even. I'm like, dinner. Wait till this movie's over, and then I'll like Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Oh yes,
Betty Davis. Yeah, gotta watch it. There's so many Betty Davis movies I can't even right now, but anything with Betty Davis.
Awesome.
But there's those classic movies, because that's what me and my mom did together when I was a little girl. She made me watch all that stuff, and I mean, I'm glad she did, because the musical end of it really played a part into my,
right,
my DNA, I guess you should say. So,
well, Geri, the last question I have for you today is: what are you extremely grateful for today?
For you, this has been a pleasant conversation. I love talking to somebody that just gets it, that I'm not talking like total foreign language to when you start talking about vestibular issues, because some people they don't even know. So thank you.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
Well, it's been great having you here. I can't wait to learn more about the hooping, and we're going to talk in the future, because I need some kind of exercise I enjoy besides walking.
Oh, let me tell you, you just know where I'm at. Like, you just reach out. And again, I'm doing it differently now. So don't feel like what you see on my website is always going to be the way that it is, because it's going to change. I even think my pricing structure, all of that's going to change.
Okay.
I really feel like, And you know who else I'm grateful for? I have to say this, because I would have followed it up, and I thought I should probably say that. My husband, I think I said it earlier. Yeah. I'm just so grateful for him.
Sounds like a great support.
He really, really is. And I don't know where I'd be without him. I just really, really, really don't. Because he puts up with me. I mean, there's just been so much. I mean, my craziness lets me do my thing, so that I can function. And so it's really, I'm grateful for him every day.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm so happy we got to catch up and talk, and I look forward to the next time. Thank you, Geri, for sharing your healing journey with us. I'm looking forward to learning the hula hoop with my daughter, and I haven't been excited about learning something new in a long time. I will leave all her information below. Thank you so much for being here. I have a question for you this week, and I would love for you to leave me a voice message so I can share in future episodes. I would love to hear from you, and I can't express this enough. You can leave the answer or just a general message at www.speakpipe.com/MuneersMuse. Now, my question: what is the best advice someone has given you since developing your vestibular something? Whether it was a physician, a therapist, friend, parent, child, or a total stranger. Leave me a voice message and share that advice with us. It may be just what someone needs to hear today. Thank you so much for being here. We all have a story. Let yours inspire others. If you would like to share your inspiring story with others, or know someone that has a story others would benefit from hearing, please reach out to me. It's all about connection after all. For more information on vestibular disorders, please visit the VITA website at www.vestibular.org. Thank you for listening, and remember to love and be gentle with yourself. Lean on this beautiful community, and lastly, believe that healing is possible. I'll see you next week, Warriors.